Okay, am I going? Okay, I'm live. So today I wanted to talk about the importance of the key of your song. Here, I'm only going to be looking at this tiny segment from here to probably about here. Only that tiny segment is all I'm looking at. So the song here was written in B. So I wrote the song in B, but typically I like to listen to it or edit it in D sharp. Why is that important? Well, because if you write a song in one key, but then end up transcribing it to a different key, it's going to sound completely different. So here's what it originally sounded like. So that's what it meant to sound like when I made it. Here's how it sounds like after I transpose it to D sharp. So you can see that sounds a lot darker and a lot more serious than B. Now, why is that? Well, because on this list here, the lowest key is C, the highest one is B. So you're going up a little bit less than an octave. You're going up about 7 notes. So you have C, C sharp, that's half a step, C to D, that's another half a step, and then D to D sharp. And then you don't have an E sharp, so you go E to F, a whole step, F to F sharp, G to G sharp, and A, and then A to A sharp, and then B. So you have a little bit less than an octave there. So why is that important? Why does C sound so dark? Well, because that's the lowest key that this program transposes to. Typically, I'll write songs in C. So you saw it sounds in B, you saw it sounds in D sharp. What about C, which is only a step and a half away from C? You can see that sounds a lot more gritty. It doesn't sound nearly as good as that B that I showed you earlier, which was what it was originally in. Now, the reason that C sounds so dark is because it's a lower note than B. But just because it's lower doesn't mean it has to sound completely darker. It doesn't have to sound more serious, but it does. And the reason for that is because songs like just more gritty, darker songs typically have a lower key because it sounds more kind of like a waltz, kind of like a Russian waltz. It always has that darker key. Now, that's the importance of it. If you want a high energy song, typically you'll write in a higher key. And typically, if you want a grittier sound, you'll write in a lower key. But that's not how it always is. Your song can sound super happy and energetic with a lower key. But that's just the importance of having a good key signature. and having that key signature work with your song. What about E? Ooh. Here, let's listen to the bassiest note that I have on this track, this one right here, on the original B. Sounds pretty bright. What about C? Oh, 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 it's a brown note right there. Jeez, that's really dark. What about E? I don't know why, but that sounds darker. Oops. I'll get out of here. Some about that sounds just more intense than that than the C and the B. What about just half a step lower than the standard than the original key? Let's listen to it with the B. About A sharp. That sounds darker, but not by much. But it does sound more gritty than the B. So yeah, that's key signature or keys for you.